The topic of testimony in courtroom 2525 was a 20-year-old videotape federal prosecutors consider child pornography. The woman at the center of that footage taking the stand today with a new story from decades ago. The woman who denied inappropriate sexual activity with R. Kelly for years taking the stand today to testify against the R&B star. Using the false name Jane, she said, quote, "He was a person I looked up to. We had a lot in common, basketball, music. I thought it was a good idea." The woman, now 37, told jurors she was 14 years old in that videotape engaging in sexual activity with Kelly. "I was told it was important I not share our relationship with anyone because he could get in a lot of trouble, and he, meaning Kelly, emphasized being loyal to him." Kelly was charged with child pornography in Cook County in 2002, but was acquitted in 2008 when the girl and her family denied Jane was in the video. Jane testified today that Kelly and his employees plotted to send her and her parents out of the country and then forced Jane to live with him, enduring beatings if she tried to leave. She testified it was only recently that she was willing to change her account, saying, "I became exhausted with living with these lies."
What's going on, YouTube? It's Rochelle Tannen. It's 6:56. It's August 21st, 2022. It's Sunday. I'm here in Philadelphia. Guys, so much has been going on. I don't even know what to cover right now. And thank you to all the new subscribers. But I'm going to do a follow-up. I picked this because about when it first happened, when Surviving R. Kelly first came out, I couldn't stomach it. I couldn't finish it. And I did a video that I since unpublished because I put this channel on pause to address personal things in my life. But in that video, knowing myself, I haven't watched it in over a year, I had said the chick that did the threesome with that 14-year-old should be in jail. Stephanie, aka Sparkle, be careful, should be in jail much quicker than R. Kelly. Now, a couple days ago, this just came across my news feed. A couple days ago, the lady or the young woman who was in that video from the early 2000s took the stand. She's 37 now. And now all of a sudden, her story's changed from back in the day. I don't even know why she's allowed to take the stand, because in this country, we don't do double jeopardy. He shouldn't be getting tried again for this girl or this woman now. He beat the rap. Whether he did it or not, the court of law said he was acquitted back in the day. She said he didn't do it back in the day. Okay, so now they use her as a star witness. Her aunt, Sparkle, was the caveat to all of this. I don't care what if it could help my career to sacrifice one of my nieces, I'm not doing it. But see, I'm a different kind of nigga. You know what I'm saying? Sparkle was willing to sacrifice her daughter because she was never really that hot. She had the one album, and let me tell you something, it wasn't that she sang so well or she's that great looking, because she's not. It was because R. Kelly wrote and produced that album. And say what you will, like him or not, but his music, his writing, production has changed history. And he's a phenomenal writer, singer, etc. He could have took my favorite group that he produced, Changing Faces, and put them on Be Careful, and it still would have been a #1 hit. Now come to find out, this woman had her niece laying in his lap and doing all these things. That's not a surprise to me. I remember when Surviving R. Kelly first came out, I caught a lot of slack because I still love R. Kelly's music, and it's never gonna change. I don't know him personally to judge him. If I was to judge him, I would have to judge all the loser niggas I've known in my adulthood that sleep with teenagers because they can't afford grown women. Or maybe they can, they're just sick and they're perverted. What, you think it's just R. Kelly? The only reason R. Kelly just got that 30 years and is still on trial federally is because he's rich. He's noted. And there's a lot of people behind the scenes still making money off of this R. Kelly thing. He's made a lot of money for people behind this nonsense. Even 20 years ago, when some of you Gen Zers weren't here, you were in diapers, let me tell you something. That tape, the infamous tape from the early 2000s, I remember people, and this just shows you where people are and Negroes have been. They used to have watch parties at clubs and barbershops. You could buy the tape. Back in the day, you had the bootleg DVDs and CDs and shit. You would go to the hood and buy bootleg. And yeah, a lot of hood niggas made a lot of money off that tape 20 years ago. And they're still making money off R. Kelly. Now, in that tape, I saw that tape. You can't find it on the internet and shit now, but when some of these adult websites were first out, that shit was on there. I've seen that tape. And this woman, the niece, I won't say her name, they're calling her Jane, she testified that R. Kelly took her virginity. I've seen that fucking tape. And the way she was screwing, nah, R. Kelly won her first. Nah. No. She had already been screwing. Now, don't get me wrong. If R. Kelly did the crime, he should do some time. But I think this is overkill. And the fact that none of these women that participated in threesomes with this underage girl, her aunt Stephanie Sparkle, they should be in jail too, because they were adults when they were engaging with this girl and whatever other young people they were having these encounters with. But black women, and yeah, I'm talking to y'all, a good 80-90% of y'all do these heinous things in the streets, much like Stephanie Sparkle, and then you get to play the victim. It's not just Sparkle either. I was just watching an update about Chef Pie, or P, or whatever her name is, out of Miami, that did the pink sauce. Professional victims. You are the only group of women that I know that get to participate in heinous illegal crap and then cry victim. Sparkle was never a victim. If you look at the old album cover on her album, and she's wearing this nice chinchilla fur and whatnot, she had no problem sacrificing her niece to get those number ones. Believe that. She should be in prison too. But I said that a couple years ago, and people were, oh, you support this and that, the third, blah, 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 blah. No more than you everyday Negroes support it, because I assure you, if I had a 14-year-old daughter, as her mother, I know where she is. She wouldn't be in no barbershops. She wouldn't be in no recording studios. She wouldn't be in music videos. She wouldn't be doing any of that stuff a lot of them underage girls were doing at the time. And I also know, because I'm 42, I grew up in these times, the feel of women and young women in the late 90s and early 2000s, it was nothing for a 17-year-old to be dating a 30-year-old. Because remember, at the end of the 90s, we were still under the drug dealer being fashionable, the crack dealer being fashionable. When I was in high school, I remember grown men picking up girls I went to school with. And their mothers and fathers, much like this witness Jane, weren't around to know what the fuck was going on, because a lot of them were getting high, are in their own bags, and more worried about their lives. See, again, if I had a daughter or a son, I'm going to know where you are up until 18. Now, you could do your little sneaky thing as a teenager. We all did. Some of us got caught doing something, some of us didn't. But I'm going to be on that ass, and any real parent would be. And I have several sisters. I would expect, if my child is in my sister's care, them to be the watchful eye. And if something goes on, them to tell me, sorry guys, my phone just talks on its own. I'm about to buy a new phone soon, so sorry about that. But that's what real family is. But I have to say, since the 80s, black family has certainly changed. Black family will sell each other out for a fucking barbecue platter. Black people don't stick together like we used to. Black people don't have family and community like it used to be. We just get sold that it's still that way, but it's far from that way. I'm not saying R. Kelly didn't deserve some time, because it was him in that video. Even though he was acquitted, and these new charges in the last decade, he deserved time. But as a daughter of a murder victim, the guy who murdered my mother only got 15 to 20 years. They gave this nigga 30. And a lot of them women in the surviving R. Kelly video, they weren't even kids. They were actual adult grown women. They weren't fucking victims. If you 30, ain't a grown man victimizing you. And also, it's been my opinion, listen, and this is crass, guys, but it's the truth. R. Kelly's penis is the best thing that ever happened to these women. Most of these women are low budget, low class whores that wouldn't have the lifestyle he introduced them to had they not screwed him. And not only did they screw him once, if you're so victimized, you don't keep going back and getting victimized again, no matter the money. It only seems like it was a problem when in the last few years his music isn't selling as much, even though I'm sure he's still making a lot of money, more money than an everyday person would be making, but not as much money as some of those women were used to. And oh, if you're that traumatized, you don't take presents and cash and gifts from someone who traumatizes you. And also, a lot of those parents, and just like Aunt Sparkle, Stephanie, those parents led their daughters to slaughter. And they do it again if they could go, and these times if they could go viral, if they can become overnight millionaires, they will sacrifice their kids. I see people online sacrificing their kids every day at the hope of being an overnight success. So, again, I don't think R. Kelly should have got 30 years. Maybe 10. Maybe 10. Maybe 15. I also don't think this broad Jane should be on the stand, because this is skating on double jeopardy, and that's against our court system. But I guess we're in a time where the Constitution, the judicial system doesn't seem to matter to the public in America. That heifer shouldn't even be on the stand. And she's already lying. She's already lying. I guess the money he paid her back in the early 2000s or her family must be gone. So now she has to be a victim, and I'm quite sure she don't look like she used to. Now all of a sudden she's a victim and she's changing her story. The F out of here. I'll always listen to R. Kelly's music. They crucified him, he's gone, but y'all should know who's supporting these women. They're just as guilty. They're disgusting. Even that 14-year-old. Because if her mother cared about her and her aunt, she would have never been in that studio. And 14, you may still be a minor at 14, but you're old enough to go get help. You're old enough to go call the police on your own. You're old enough to go to school and report it. So there was something very unsavory going on between that 14-year-old, her parents, and whatever monetary arrangements they made. It's a very sad day, actually, because what bothers me is the implications of what's going on with this R. Kelly trial and how it impacts everyday people. It's kind of like the same thing that with the raid with the last POTUS. Y'all better be worried about the implications of being tried for something you were acquitted of. Same thing kind of happened to Michael Jackson. You get acquitted and you still keep getting retried in the actual court and court of public opinion. Bill Cosby as well. You pay these people off, these victims, and then you get criminally prosecuted later. Y'all should be very worried about the implications of this. But I'm going to be following the trial, and I'll do a follow-up, seeing how this thing goes. On this note, I'm a hater, but I'm not hating on these hoes, because I wouldn't lie like this, and I wouldn't put my daughter in a position. But I am negative 24/7. 365, 366 in a leap year, I'm negative. And on that note, guys, I'm out. But I'll be doing a couple more videos. I've been going through things I want to do. There's so much. But stay tuned. And again, thanks to the new subscribers. I'm out of here.